Bienvenidos to Season 3 of Humans in Accounting podcast. In a world full of AI, automation, and endless workflows, we pause for a moment to focus on the real humans behind the numbers. Founders, leaders, humans share their journey, what drives them, and the moments that shape their path. Because behind every balance sheet, there's always a story worth telling. Humans in Accounting is brought to you by South Offices. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Humans in Accounting, where leaders, humans share their story behind their spreadsheets. I'm Alex Roman, and this podcast is still sponsored by South Offices, connecting accounting talent across borders. Today, I'm super happy to have James Bohan, a founder at Stonehenge. James, we never met physically. Now I was looking, and we got introduced by Kim, I think last year. Yeah. So welcome to Humans in Accounting, James. How are you?
Great. Yeah. Thanks for finally having me on the show. Glad we found a time that worked for both of us.
Yeah, right. We tried just to do this last year, and yeah, for some reason it didn't work out. Now we're recording this on April the 29th. Probably we'll be releasing this somewhere in May. But yeah, we finished with busy season and tax season. So yeah, now it's a better timing. So yeah, super happy just to finally be doing this together. James, let's go. I know that you've been in a few episodes, and I know a few things about you. But I would ask you directly. I'm interested in knowing how you ended up starting your own firm. How were those first steps? If you can tell me a little bit about your career and your background, that'll be great to start.
Sure. I guess to talk about how I started a CPA business, should probably talk about how I became a CPA in the first place.
Let's go with that. Yes.
Yeah. And, this was back, I graduated from college from USC, fight on everybody, with a degree in accounting and a degree in like business, real estate, finance stuff. And I always had this idea of going into real estate. But I graduated with probably the worst or the best time, depending on how you look at it, for real estate in 2008, when we call it like the GFC, the great
Okay.
financial collapse. So I kind of took some time off right after I graduated. I traveled the world a bit. I went to Australia for a case competition for my school and stayed there for 3 months. Then I went to Europe for a few months. And then I came back, and the world was still kind of on fire and financially speaking. And I just kind of leaned on this accounting degree I had. When you're going through kind of like a top 5 accounting school, there's all these events called Meet the Firms, where all the big firms are out there, like, the big four, the mid tiers, all trying to recruit the next level of talent and get them internships. Well, all my internships were spent in real estate during college. So I had no accounting experience. And I ended up getting a job as a bookkeeper at this like one man shop in Hollywood, where I just got my first job. I was paid probably like $20 an hour. And I started, aggressively studying for the CPA exam. Oh, sorry. Before that, I was going to Liberty Tax, the ones you see in all the malls across America that put a Statue of America
Yes.
costume mascot out front. I was going through their kind of tax training and prep program to work for them before I got this job in Hollywood. And back there, we were doing 1040 tax returns by hand. So I kind of,
Okay.
started at the bottom, doing it all manually, worked for this guy in Hollywood. And then as I was passing my CPA exams, I applied for a job at a great mid-tier firm called Rothstein Cass in Beverly Hills. So I go from kind of a one-man shop to this like great firm that really specialized in alternative investments, which goes into real estate funds, private equity funds, hedge funds, and they also had some entertainment clients too. And I really slotted into the real estate side, kind of given my experience having internships in real estate before, and the entertainment side. And one thing that I did, like pretty much from like my first day in my career, even with the job for the one man guy in Hollywood, is I always sought out to network and try to find clients for the firm. While I was with Rothstein Class, I also found like clients for like my own small side book of business too that were just like maybe someone who was too small to be a client.
Right.
I was always, building business. I was going to conferences. Just in my second year with this firm, Rothstein Cast, they sent me to this like A-level conference at the Montage in Laguna Beach. And like they got me a room like overlooking the ocean. And I thought, wow, like after all the struggles of graduating during the GFC and working at Liberty Tax and passing those CPA exams, like I feel like, okay, all right, I made it. I'm on a good path here. And my goal with the CPA was to get my CPA, work 2 years, and get out of the firm. But this company, Rothstein Cass, had such a great culture, great people to work for. They let me like kind of work on the exact kind of work I wanted to do. And I never thought that would be such a great experience that I kind of didn't, I stayed there for a lot longer than I thought I would and could have
Okay.
stayed there for a really long time. But the firm ended up getting sold to KPMG. And
Okay.
so during the time of this merger, I was applying to go to grad school back at USC to get my master's in real estate development. And so I was able to get in, and I told one of the partners that from Rosting Cast that I really like and still have a great relationship to with till today. I'm like, hey, I got into this grad program. Can I still work part time while I go to school? And he's like, yes, absolutely. We don't want to, lose you. You're a good worker. So you could absolutely do that. And then when the KPMG merger came in, they kind of honored that as well too. So it was really interesting for me to be able to get kind of that exposure to a Big 4 for a year while I was in grad school, but I I I still had limited hours and wasn't exposed to, and I knew I wasn't gonna be there long term, so I didn't really try to play any, like, political games. I was just wanted to take care of my clients that came over, made sure they got their work transitioned properly, and then move on. So that's really
Okay.
how I started my CPA career.
Okay. That's your career. I have a few follow-up questions that I'm just intrigued and I wanna know that like when it was acquired by KPMG, you mentioned that this company had a really cool or good culture that it made you stay longer than what you wanted. When it was acquired by the KPMG, have you or how long did you stay at KPMG after?
About
For
a
I
year,
mean,
about a year.
about a year, and during that year, were you was that culture changed, I
Oh,
guess?
oh, absolutely. First and foremost, you had a lot of people not go over, and culture is really made of people.
Right.
Our office manager, I don't believe even went or maybe he did, but a lot of people did not go over, and it's just not the same. We were a much smaller firm, but we were still nationwide with offices in like New Jersey, NorCal, Denver, a few other spots. But it was just completely night and day. KPMG has their own culture,
Right.
which was completely different, and I really enjoyed the one at Rothstein Cass.
Okay, but it's great that you were able just to see the difference, like of the first company, and then well, while being yeah bought with a KPMG, that transition. I think it's interesting just to know it and just to understand it at an early age. And let me ask you, but and then how did you ended up starting? When was it like when you started at your firm?
So, it was about 4 years after because when I went to grad school, I took a class on mortgages and mortgage-backed securities, and I ended up getting hired by this professor to help him start up a real estate private equity lending fund, and so I came on as the first employee and CFO
Okay.
and built out the whole back office. We did over $1 billion of loans there. I onboarded like 1,400 LPs. So it was basically like this kind of company I was CFO was just like my kind of client that
Okay.
I had at Rosting Cass. And this was really interesting. Like, I went from like, staff accountant to senior accountant to CFO. I didn't have to wait around to senior manager. I didn't have to wait around to manager. And I always hear this in the accounting industry, people asking advice. Do I stay till senior manager? Do I go for director, senior? If you want to go on the partner track, just stick around till then. But it's I'd say I'm an example of it's never too early to jump for the right opportunity. And for me, it was just kind of everything aligned and it was the perfect and it was a great opportunity and I learned a lot. So after that, doing that for 4 years, I left because I felt like an entrepreneur coming in from
Right.
the beginning, but had no entrepreneurial upside. So,
Hmm.
that's where it eventually came to a head about 4 years into that job. And after that, I
Okay.
started yeah. And so this is when I started at my CPA firm. This is also when I went to Argentina as well. I took a little couple months sabbatical again, where I did about a month across South America. And when I came back, it was like February 2019, I believe, is when I
Hmm.
really started the CPA firm. And it all happened because a former client that I had brought into Rothstein Cass got fired when KPMG bought them, got fired as a client because they were too small. And then he went with another guy. And so as soon as I was on my own and wasn't, at the CFO job, he's like, "Hey, can you help me out with my taxes again?" He was doing, syndication, raising money to put into real estate deals. And that's, my total bread and butter. And it was just a really good fit. Just from there, I started to, pick up clients going back to 29, like for 5, 6, 7 years now. I didn't, kind of take it as seriously. Like from in the first year, it was kind of like still felt like a side hustle in a way. I was still working on other projects. Like I got my SE, SEC FINRA license to try to sell securities, specifically for real estate, and didn't end up liking that job at all and just kind of lean more into the accounting firm. And then a couple years in, really started taking it like seriously and like getting in the practice management solution. Hiring offshore talent in the Philippines. And now today, I've got 5 staff offshore and 3 professionals in the United States. Kind of like a bit of a different hybrid, remote, and office. Just because in the last week I got some office space for the first time in 7 years because I hired a COO locally, and, we just needed a space to be able to meet and start to grow the presence. It's been kind of like a really cool track over the last 7 years to kinda see where it started and where it's gotten to now.
That's great, James. I have like 14 different questions that I want to ask you, so I'll go step by step. First, you mentioned I want to go back. You said that it was this client who KPMG basically fired them, and he came back to you and say, "Hey, can you help me out with this?" When he said that, you didn't have your firm, and basically this was the main reason why you said, "Hey, I just want to go ahead. I mean, it makes sense now to start my own firm." Correct?
Yeah, I'm just like, I'll go get I'll spin up the tax software, and then I'll just get to work on it, you know? It was just that's how really business starts, like, get your first customer, like,
Absolutely.
don't sit around waiting for ideas, trying to make everything perfect. Just go get your first customer, you know?
Exactly, exactly. That's yeah, I couldn't agree more, and that's exactly, and that's usually how all business starts. Then you mentioned you came here to Argentina, and when we were talking before, you saw me that I was having this, and you said, "Hey, you're having a mate." You stood here in Argentina for a month. You said.
I think about 7 to 10 days or something. Yeah, I'm drinking the yerba mate too, just kind of the cold brew version. But yeah, I think it was about 3 to 4 weeks in South America, Peru, Uruguay, and Buenos Aires. Um, and yeah, I just had a really great time out there. I used to love traveling a lot more than I do now. Now that I'm older, I'm very happy to be on my homestead here in Idaho versus doing a lot of travel.
That's great. And when you were here in Argentina, you only stood here. You said for about a week in Buenos Aires, right? That was the only destination of Argentina. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I've always wanted to see Patagonia and kind of like the mountains and whole nature out there, but didn't have time this trip.
Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah. Patagonia, you gotta go to Patagonia during summer and also during winter. It's obviously the same place, but it's completely different. One is basically just to go skiing if you enjoy that. And then in summer, you have all this great views, things, the lakes. It's really good. Well, definitely for next time. And now that you know me, if you ever happen just to be here in Buenos Aires, just let me know, and we can have some real mates together, not the version that you're drinking now. All right, and then let me just change subjects for 1 second, because if not, I'm gonna forget. I don't know how familiar you are with humans in accounting. It's 2 years, and I'm passionate about a few things, and between them, I'm passionate about food. So I'm asking each guest, and you're not going to be the exception. What's your favorite food?
Favorite food is sushi by far,
It's sushi.
I'd
All
say.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, or a good
Okay.
grass-fed steak, or a good grass-fed steak, but I just had sushi
No.
last night, so I'll go with that.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Have you been to?
I have not. It's one of the few countries that I still have a desire to potentially travel to. I've been telling the
Okay.
team is like, as soon as we hit certain revenue goals, we can look at maybe doing a team retreat and meet up in Japan because it's kinda, uh, closer to the Philippines, and, I have a lot of team members that like going there, and I really wanna go check it out, and it could be a cool thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also mentioned about having this, well, a few things that you have offshore. How is it working since when you started working with an offshore team?
Yeah, I'll kinda go through my whole experience there. So, I first started by, hiring just are they called BPO companies or employer of record sorta deal? I
Right.
hired, like, a graphic designer through that. Sorry, there's just a bald eagle right outside my window right now. That's very cool to see. I love where I live. But anyway, so I started with, like, a BPO firm out there with, like, a web designer, and then when I, realized I should staff up my CPA firm, I hired this company to help me find an accountant. And they found me a really great one. This guy's still with me today. Solid, like A plus player. He's a gamer like me. He likes playing some of the same video games I used to play. So we're able to kind of like bond over that. And it made me realize like people with that certain gamer mentality make really great accountants too. Same if anyone's playing Magic the Gathering, that's basically practicing tax law at the end of the day because of all the
Uh-huh.
reading you have to do on how to play the game. But anyways, I had a great, situation with this BPO for a while, and when we first started, they were supposed to have, like, the in-office place, there's the yoga studio in there, there's all the fixings of a cool employment office, but when
Right.
COVID hit, that kinda just threw that all out the door. They, helped provision my team with the, you know, remote work tools they needed to do their job, and it worked fine. And then it went on for, a year or 2, and my guy's saying like, "Hey, I don't really need these people. I'm not sure what they're doing," and, they're just adding costs onto the bill because 'cause I'm not hiring them as a contractor directly. So, eventually, as we went to scale up, I realized I didn't wanna hire people through the same BPO. But at the same time, I still wanted some oversight over my team. So that's when I implemented, shout out to Tech Gurus. They're a great global IT firm, very specialized for accountants. And so I hired them to kind of replace this BPO to really make sure all of our tech was locked down with two factor authentication, encryption, everything we need to be safe, antivirus, all that sort of stuff. So that's when I brought tech gurus in, that's when I hired 4 more people from, the Philippines with onlinejobs.ph, and just interviewed them all directly, and it was great to do it that way.
Okay. Perfect. And that has been working. And now you mentioned as well that you recently, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have like a physical office now where you just go and meet with you said,
Yep, yep, so just, in the past week, I got an office in kinda downtown Coeur d'Alene up here. It's a really cool building, it's like a co-working building, but I have my own private office and private internet and everything. But it's just cool to be in, like, kind of, that energy of an area about around a bunch of other entrepreneurs after kinda just working from my home for the last 7 years, and I got the office space because, as you mentioned, I hired a COO, and I just didn't feel comfortable using my home as a home office for multiple employees anymore and thought it was just time to rip the Band-Aid, get out of the house, and, it's been a great experience so far getting it set up.
yeah, it's great. And did you go like every single day? You go like a few times a week? How do you manage that? I'm just curious.
I'm honestly still figuring it out, like,
Right.
I'm still getting, an area set up to look good on camera. I'm still at my home office right now, which is really set up to do podcasts. So I'll go in, this afternoon. I found that I really like going to the office, and I really like going home after the office. So it's been an enjoyable experience so far.
Okay, yeah, yeah. No, I think it's important that here at South Offices, what we do is like we get together. We're a small team, less than 8 of us, but basically each quarter we just get because Argentina, it's a big country. We don't have states, we have provinces, and it's hard just to get together. But once a quarter, we just get together, and sometimes it's good, just having a coffee and be able just to talk about, hey, how was your weekend, and stuff like that. I think that helps a culture, but at the same time, it's understandable that nowadays it's hard just to get the good things of both worlds. But super interesting. And like, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes ago, you mentioned something that here I wrote down. I wanted just to follow up on that. You said that it's super important just to do networking. When I asked you about your first your job experience, now, do you go to events? Do you have something? How do you do networking nowadays in May 2026?
Yeah, it's a combination of online and in person. I've
Right,
been sponsoring some conferences, starting last year and this year, finding which ones are good for me, which ones kinda have an ROI where kinda my avatar or target client is at. And then the online stuff I started, like, 2 or 2.5 years ago. I hired this company, and they've been doing a great job to make the whole marketing thing just kinda seamless for me. I'm a guy who, like, deleted all his social media in, like, 2012 and just hated all of it, and just realized how in today's day and age you need that. And like I don't like how the algorithm tries to like feed into certain aspects of the human psyche around like greed, envy, lust, or all these psychological tricks it does. And as someone who's very perceptive, it's very easy for me to see that constantly happening whenever I'm on social media. And I don't want to be thinking about like, how do I game this or how do I do it myself? And I just had to take that whole brain process out of me and just hire a team that has worked out just perfectly for me to get all of the marketing done. And so that's how kind of networking is today. Now that I kind of have some physical office space, that's just going to lead to more just kind of human interaction, which could lead to potential new clients. Just for example, someone hit me up on LinkedIn, who was in town looking to move here, and I looked at his profile with similar hobbies. I didn't think anything about trying to see if he could be a client. I was just going to go meet with him to say like, "Hey,
right,
here's my experience living here." He runs an IT company. He wasn't trying to sell me anything. And, 15 minutes in the conversation, he's talking about wanting to sell his company and move up here. And I'm like, "Okay, wait, you said sell your company. What kind of company do you have? Are you a C corp? You're a C corp or no?" Like, "Okay, you're not a C corp? Okay, well, you're looking to sell, you need to be one ASAP so you can save $2,000,000." And he's like,
right,
"Okay, well, beers are on me then." And I'm like, "Great. Well, that's the best trade deal in the history of trade deals." So, maybe it's a bit more nuanced than that, and, I'm happy to have him as a client, and we'll see if he comes. It just happens naturally, when you're someone who knows the tax code really well, and you're just speaking to people about their lives or businesses. You can just certain things that, like, if you hear them, like, I want to help them. Like, I want to help them pay less in taxes. Like, if this guy doesn't end up hiring me and has his current CPA figured out, great. The government just lost out on $2,000,000, and it's a win.
right. That's super interesting. Now that you mentioned it, we haven't talked a lot about Stone State. About do you work? Is there like a specific, like an ideal client that you have that you work with? What's your ideal client?
Yeah, our ideal target is a private equity real estate fund manager. It's the thing I know the most. I started my career doing it. I was on their side of the table as a CFO of a fund for 4 years. I invest in real estate myself too, so I know the challenges they face as operators. So I have this combination of great kind of like institutional experience, knowing how all these private equity funds operate at a high level, but still this kind of like entrepreneurial spirit because I own some small properties myself,
Uh-huh.
and know how real estate works. So I can kind of pair these two different things. And then also technically it's, real estate tax law and partnership tax law too. And so that's where you can become a great expert if you're able to pair a few things together to really further hone down into your niche. Above and beyond that, we help just, real estate investors of all shapes and kinds. I've had clients with dozens of millions of dollars in portfolio, some that are starting out and just had kind of have their first 2 or 3 rental properties. We really like to help people understand how to use real estate to pay as little in taxes as legally possible, because I think it's the best way to do it given how the code is set up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And let me ask you a question. I don't know if I saw a post or something. Do you work as well with like with startups?
Yeah, more like in the startup, like if someone's starting up a real estate fund, let's say they've been, managing a few properties themselves, they've kind of built up a track record and now they want to go launch a fund. I've helped consult them on like how to set it up, what are the good terms, like making sure the LLC operating agreement and PPM show how the cash should get distributed. It's kind of like the art of the deal or fund architecting, how to put the funds together and make sure they're achieving both their kind of investment goals and the fund goals, because the in this space, a fund is like an LLC agreement or this artificial structure that goes around like an actual physical asset, real estate. And so you really want to make sure the operations, cash flow, business plan of the real estate fits the wrapper of the fund. And so that's something that I enjoy the most doing is working through clients and figuring out those economics and how to really put something like that together.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. That's great. Let me ask a question, James. Someone in the future is watching this in YouTube or in Spotify or on Apple or in my LinkedIn profile, and they just want to reach out to you because they think that you can definitely help them out. What's the best way just to reach out to you, James?
Yeah, our website is stonehon.com. That's stone like a rock, on like Han Solo.com. I'm really active on LinkedIn as well. James Bohan, CPA MRED on there. And then I'm building up my Instagram. So some follows there at James Bohan CFO. I would be appreciated for anyone to check me out there.
When we post this episode, I'll make sure just to include that Instagram as well. I gotta say, I saw a few pictures to you. I saw a post of you on private jets or private plane. Is that something that you usually?
Sometimes whenever I can bum a ride on one, I'll try to make some content out of it too.
It's important. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's a good place just to do content. Great. Let me ask you this, James. This is a question that I like, basically because I'm learning through the answers that the guests are giving me. So let's go back to when you started your business. What's a good advice that maybe someone could have given you back then when you had this first client? Or let's put it another way, like what's a good advice that you can give someone in May 2026 that it's considering opening their own firm because they feel now it's a good time just to jump and do it? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Hire people and get systems into place as fast as you can afford them, and potentially go into debt if you have to afford them. If you really believe in yourself and you're getting traction on the sales side and you've hit something good, pull the trigger and invest in your own firm like as quickly as possible.
Solid advice. I love that. Yeah, it's important just to have it in mind and just take action and do it. I don't know if at the beginning of this podcast you mentioned of something around the idea of just go ahead and do it and go for it. Don't wait till it's perfect. That's something that I feel that everyone here in the humans in accounting, well, humans in general, it's something that we all struggle and we were just trying just to wait for the perfect timing. No, just do it, iterate it. It's not going to be the best thing ever, but and then eventually you can do things just to make it better.
Yeah, I like to say done is better than perfect because nothing's ever going to be perfect. So just get it done.
Done. It's definitely better than perfect. James, it was super happy that we finally made this episode. It was really nice having you here in Humans in Accounting. Next time you're in Argentina or in Buenos Aires, you are supposed to send me a message, and we can share a few mates together. All right.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.